Hi everyone. So the topic that I decided to discuss this week was that of issues with infant mortality rates and infants being born with drugs in their system due to an issue within their mothers. So the overall issue with this is that mothers are being brought into the hospital and going into labor, and they are positive for certain types of drugs such as marijuana or heroin or cocaine and other types of drugs such as that. The most common actually being marijuana. And now their children are born with these certain defects, or they are born premature and things of that nature, and some of these children even go on to pass away due to these issues. And actually a broad scope and a broad amount of women are being brought into the hospital, and they are showing signs that they have been smoking during their pregnancy because their children are being born with things such as, which something that I have researched recently has been saying that children are starting to be born more often with cleft lips. I'm sorry, I can't say it correctly. And not only that, but they are beginning to be smaller in size. So though they are quote unquote full term, these children are starting to not grow as quickly and be behind track and behind pace of the other babies that are born regularly, are born completely normal and totally healthy. So they are showing a direct difference between the two. And smoking cigarettes by any means is not good during pregnancy. Therefore, that's becoming, any type of drug is becoming a really big issue. But there is a policy that has been put in place, but it's not really helping as much in communities that have such a large scale issue with this circumstance. For example, Robeson County at Southeastern Regional Hospital, there was an article that was put out discussing how in Southeastern they were actually turning babies away once they were being born, and then they would test them and they would realize, hey, these children have tested positive, these newborn babies and infants have tested positive for different types of drugs, but usually they would keep them in the hospital with them to contact DSS and child services to better address their needs and figure out if they're going to send the child home with the parents because it was a accident, or they something occurred to where they are still able to go home with the parent, or if most likely they will go with a foster family into care of child services or DSS. But now in Robeson County, most of the time, since the rates of these children that are being born with drugs in their system is so high, these kids are having to still go home with these parents. And many of them often come back to the hospital for an overdose of drugs. And what we've been seeing recently, when I spoke with a person from that worked at the hospital, she's actually a registered nurse in the labor and delivery department, these children come back eventually because she sees many instances of children coming back that are high off of weed or marijuana because they're being in the vehicles with their parents or with their families while they're smoking, or they're in the house, and it just gets in their lungs and it impacts them. And a lot of they're seeing a rise in children that have things such as asthma and heart disease, and not heart disease and heart issues, I apologize, and growing disabilities that affected the way they grow and the way their brain works. So that is such a large scale issue, but honestly the best solution is to likely, I know that this is something that they do, but they need to double down on it 10 times more. It's testing parents or women throughout their pregnancy to make sure consistently that they are not doing drugs, so that when the child is born, they'll know what to expect, and possibly, eliminate the factor of, do we need to keep this child here or do we need to send them home? And even possibly open up their own department that completely and utterly deals with children who are born with drugs in their system, because most of the time when they are born, like I said, in Robeson County, they just get sent right back home into the environment that they were being raised in the womb in, and then it just doubles down from there, and things just continue to get worse. So with that being said, hopefully in the future there's something that can be done about it. But right now, it just seems to be something that a lot of people overlook and a lot of people see as normal because drugs aren't really as taboo as they used to be. So hopefully things get done and hospitals can say, hey, we need more people on this and this and this, and specifically on the intake for babies who have drugs in their system. And possibly they can find a way to find better families and better care for these children, because most of the time if they're born with drugs in their system, it likely means that the parents could easily mean, I'm not going to say likely, it could easily mean that the parents are unfit, and will probably, there's a good chance that drugs may come first before the child. So hope this makes sense. Thanks, y'all.